Adora here with another story of D&D proportions. This is being Chapter 3 of The Land Chooses Its Heroes. If you ain't listened to Chapter 1 or 2 of The Land Chooses Its Heroes, allow me, Adora, god of the games, to catch you up. Canydel, Arkin, Ebo, and Elunei are on their search for something called a valve, which is a release of magical energies. These people are called Seekers, who attempt to discern the motivations of the nameless, faceless god. Currently, they're seeking the advice of an OG named Kip, who was a Seeker back in the day. Alright, we caught up for now. This particular chapter has 3 more parts, and in a few months, maybe we get the final chapter. The name of this story is The Land Chooses Its Heroes, Chapter 3, Part 8. Blink, and you'll miss it. After a harrowing escape from the Echo River, the party moved at a southerly pace through the Galamark region. Galamark had a wealth of lush mystical forests that brim with magical energies. Many of Fae creatures made their homes in this place, some native to this plane of existence, while quite a few were visitors from other dimensions wandering the woods for mysterious purposes. Though the party could have stopped at several civilized settlements and cities, they opted to stay away from all of that as to not lose their focus and momentum. Now that Everin was churning and a new valve had been created, they thought they'd be amongst the first people to navigate it before some nearby nation decided to scoop it up and build a city on top of it. Though valves were chaotic reservoirs of magical energy, some so unpredictable they could erupt with volcanic force, the allure of living in the embrace of such power was intoxicating. Those valve towns that built over the faults were blessed with the power of wild, untapped magic. Some believed that these valves were what allowed magic to happen in the first place. When one lived on valves, the potential of magic was increased tremendously, but so too was the chance for your own doom. Some valves were so chaotic and unpredictable, none but the most magically inclined creatures, or non-magically inclined creatures in some cases, stood a chance of living in or near them. It was not uncommon for some valves to just wipe people out en masse for no discernible reason in magical calamities. The party marched steadily for Marylu, a small gnomish settlement where Kip Cracklin resided, Kip Cracklin being the most well-established seeker on the continent of Temporis. Though the Faceless God had no official doctrine or hierarchy, it was well known that Kip had communed with the Nameless God in an epic battle for the fate of Everin, and in fact channeled a power from the entity so great it defeated another greater god, saving the planet from ultimate destruction. It wasn't as if people needed to have heard about Kip Cracklin's exploits. All they had to do was have eyes and had been looking up at the sky 2 years back. His energy radiated throughout the heavens so bright that the world saw it. As much as Kip and his band had been exalted as legendary heroes at the time, he still presented unclear ideas of what exactly the Faceless God was. It took no worshippers, but granted anyone with the will and desire to wield mystical energy's power. That being said, even as unclear as Kip Cracklin's message was, he was still the seeker that had gotten the closest to uncovering the full truth. Arkin took the lead while the others followed. He was the only one of the other 3 that had actually been to the little hidden hamlet Marylu. It wasn't as if you couldn't find the gnomish settlement, it was just so integrated into the forest. It was possible to walk right past it and not notice if you didn't know what exactly you were looking for. "How much further would you say?" said Elunei, the half-elven scout who had newly joined their band. "Not much, but if you ask me again, it'll get further away," said Arkin, the dogfolk gunslinger. Ebo looked at his friend Arkin with eyes that asked the question, why was he being so hard on the girl? Ebo felt the need to take it easy on Elunei due to how green she was. "Why are you being so hard on the girl?" Ebo asked Arkin in a lowered volume. The dogfolk gunslinger looked straight ahead while he spoke, matching his dwarf friend's low tone. "She doesn't know why she's here or what she's doing. You know us, we can go months, even years of finding out very little, and it's enough. She could very well be wasting her life for something that isn't gonna happen." Ebo understood his rationale. If she could be broken so easily, she didn't need to be doing it to begin with. "How much does Cracklin know about this new valve?" asked Canydel. He thought it wasn't an outrageous question to ask, seeing this was supposed to be the first leg of their journey. Arkin paused thoughtfully in the forest and looked around slowly. You can ask him yourself. We're here, Arkin said. Everyone stopped and inspected their surroundings. The forest was as it should be. There wasn't particularly any clear identifiers. Elunei knelt down and put her hand to the dirt. Smaller folk pass through this area often, she said. A little man with armor comprised of pots and pans stuck his head out from behind a downed log. Ho there, the creature said. He was what appeared to be a gnome of later years, which reflected more in his voice than his face. Hello, said Ebo to the gnome. You have the look of... Wait, I'll let you tell me why you're here. No need in me giving you little hints, the armored gnome said. We're seekers, and we're looking for Kip Cracklin, said Canydel. I knew it, the gnome said gleefully, all hints of suspicions gone. Come on, but don't kick up any shit. Keep them weapons sheathed, and no unnecessary spells neither. Can't trick me twice with some stupid-ass loopholes. The gnome waved the four on to follow him through the brush. As they moved through the trees, they could see the seams of intelligent design. Hidden houses nestled in nature, movement happening between twigs and branches. The gnomes were skittish as squirrels. That was until they managed to reach the heart of the town. The space opened up and there were little people with different fae-like features, always something exaggerated about them that made them more animated than most. Bite-sized children played tag in the communal area, while others played ring around the rosy, circling a man whose head skimmed the tree line. He wore all black armor, had reddish-brown skin, and a hard look of indifference, which was anathema to everything that this place was. What, is that your cousin who married a fire giant? Arkin joked. Nah, said the armored gnome. He's just a fire giant. This way. Ebo pointed his finger and pursed his lips to speak, but they were already on the move before he could address the fire giant in the room. Along the river was a bridge that seemed to have been cobbled together by beavers that led to a clearing. Across the river were 4 grand trees that twisted with a calculated precision. The limbs intertwined and weaved together as one might think a basket may. From across the river, the group could see a handful of gnomes along with 2 taller folk talking, soaking in this beautiful day. When they traversed the dam, it was a lot more sturdy than it seemed to look. A gnome in a vest with a neat bowl haircut and a chipper demeanor held court, while the others assembled listening intently. And when the Cracklinair saved the world, did I ask for anything? Nope, because I'm not the type. I told all my friends, look, we just did the greatest thing we could think to do in history. We should break up and spread the message of Kip's Cracklinaires to the world. You were the leader of the group? Asked the younger gnome to the speaker. Well, obviously, said the gnome who blew raspberries at the notion he wasn't in charge. The other adventurers in your group said there wasn't a leader, but you were just the face and things were democratic, the younger gnome went on. So, you've been reading Silver Catman's book, I see. She tended to get a lot of details wrong, very absent-minded for a wizard. Hey, who are these new people here? Kip said desperately to change the subject. We are huge fans, said Ebo, who extended his hand for a shake. I didn't do it for that, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to take it, said Kip, who shook the dwarf's hand as if he were a dear friend. It's good to see you, said Kip. Your cousin Wakini told us to say hi, Ebo explained. Wow, it's been months since I seen him. He's still a degenerate gambler? Did he lose that boat yet? Said Kip very quickly. Still and no, Ebo said. Why, these are my friends here. The faceless god doesn't have mass or services, so I like to do a little something for him. Those are Lionel, Driver, Sai, Berry Buckets, he said, motioning to the gnomes. And these 2, he swept past the 2 humans. This is Alberta and Krieger. The gnomes were not extravagant in any way, and the way Kip spoke their names so confidently, they more than likely were residents of Marylou. The 2 humans, on the other hand, he introduced with less certainty. They were more than likely outsiders who came to Kip for advice on seeking. It wasn't unheard of for people to make pilgrimages to see Kip when they were close, to seek advice on where they should search to find any answers about the faceless god. Unfortunately for them, Kip wasn't that popular before they had stopped adventuring, so they never managed to seek him out. The woman Kip introduced was middle-aged. There may have been a time where she was beautiful, but years of living on the road tarnished that shine slightly. The one called Krieger was so scarred and battle damaged he had no need for tattoos. Every mark on his body told a new story, all of which most likely started with the question, how did you live through that at all? His left eye was prominently scarred, and the pupil glazed over dimly. The group nodded to the people Kip introduced. "We could stay here all day and swap stories," said Ebo. "Don't say things like that, because I could talk all day. So allow me to get the ball rolling. What brings you to my homeland?" Kip asked gingerly. Everyone looked at each other as if they weren't sure who should be the one to lay it all out. Arkin spoke up, seeing he had the most information. "There was an eruption of a new valve that leveled the entire city of Golast. Did you have any special insights on this?" Kip smiled, then looked up to the sky. "Can't say that I do, actually, but I have an idea. Me and the faceless god are like this," Kip said while crossing his fingers. "I don't know if you know my theories, but it has always been my belief that the faceless god is somehow the planet. I don't think it's sentient in a way that we understand the word. I believe that it is a mass of energy that bubbles under the ground and from time to time pops out," said Kip, making explosive gestures with his hand to accentuate the point. "You ever wonder why there are so many gods on Everin? You go to this region, new god, that region, new god. New gods are born all the time and old gods just come here and hang out. I think they do this because Everin is a hot spring of power." "So you've been to other planets and you know how it's like there?" asked Elunei. "Funny you should say that, little lady, and yes, I have dabbled in multi-dimensional travel. And you'll just have to believe me when I say other planets have what is called pantheons of gods. A group of gods that sort of work together that rule over the planet. You think that just because you're a god, you're the top of the food chain. Nope. Even they have people that are looking to take their power. I learned a lot about it after we defeated the Eater of Worlds, or the God Eater. He had a lot of names. Gods are getting killed and absorbed all the time, but our mortal lives are so short we don't get to see it very often. But when you live millennia after millennia, losing gods every few hundred years or so is sort of a high turnover." Kip stopped and looked at Canydel. "Do I know you? You look familiar." "Sorry, I don't think we've met." "Are you sure? You seem really familiar to me," Kip went on. "No, if I met you before, I'm sure I'd remember it." "I guess I would too," Kip said. "Well, if you want to stay a while and trade stories and theories on the faceless guy, my town is pretty lenient to newcomers so long as you don't start no trouble. But if I know anything, you seekers should probably not let the grass grow on the new valve before everyone gets there.